Welcome to the season opener of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, I know this is always an exciting time of the year. Training camp is officially over as you are now into your season, opening up on Saturday against Bucknell. First off, you've been quoted as saying that this may have been one of the best camps that you've had since you've come back as head coach at Towson.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best camps. It's one of the football's been my life. I've been in summer camp since I was, 5. It's one of the most enjoyable. And it has to do with the people that we recruited and how they go about their day. We got over 50 brand new guys, and meeting 50 new brand new people, 50 plus new people who love the game of football, who have found that Towson University is the place they want to be to play it, and they believe that they can be successful by being here as people. The more of those people I get, the more excited I get. And honestly, it's been a fun camp. They work really, really hard. Everybody's got a lot to prove. It's kind of like we're emerging from COVID for real now. And it's been fun. It's really been fun.
One thing that has been an issue at times in camp with you has been injuries. How have you come out of this one?
Ooh, relatively healthy. I mean, you cannot play this game and say we're going to be 100% healthy. That's just impossible. But I'm very, very pleased going into week one what our injury report is not. And, I don't want to say much more than this. A couple years ago, we lost about 6 or 7 guys in the first 3 weeks. And
right.
And they were all starters. But coming out of camp, I couldn't be more pleased with how well we worked in the summer, how in shape we are now, and therefore how little the injury report actually has on it.
All right, so now you have to work 50 new guys in. You've said several times there are no set starters coming into camp. Everybody's fighting for a job. How much did that build on the enthusiasm that you would normally have in a camp where maybe 15 of the 22 spots, everybody knew who was starting?
I'd say it certainly played into it. But to be honest, because the larger portion of this team are older human beings. So they've seen more of the football world. So when you tell them stories of things that have transpired, they soak it up as a learning lesson. And when we started, I told them 2 stories. I told them about, I can't remember the year when I was at UConn and we beat Cincinnati at home, and they got the BCS bid that year. We didn't. They actually won the league, but we beat them at home, and we beat them at home with the 3rd-string quarterback. 1 and 2 were down, and the 3rd-string quarterback actually played his face off. And that Peter Athens, while he won the most games as a starter in the Division I history of the school in a season, the reason we went to the national championship was because of his backup. Because his backup trained like a starter every single day, and you just never know when your number's called. And that day, it was the national semifinal game. And because Connor Frazier had done all the work and prepared, he had complete confidence that he was going to win that game. And the team had complete confidence that he was going to win that game. So we've spent the whole summer everybody's fighting for jobs, but you're not fighting to be the starter. You're fighting to be the best you can be, period. What's the best football player you can be? What's the best person you can be? Because you never know. You may be the starter or you may be the 3rd-string guy, but odds are your number's getting called. So just keep preparing to be a starter, work as hard as you can, be as good as you can be, and let's let the chips fall where they may. And these kids have really taken to it. And, there's a depth chart. There has to be one, but everybody's got a role and everybody wants to win, and they're just trying to help each other.
All right, well, let's talk about naming starters. Have you named a starting quarterback? I'm asking for a name, not for who's going to be snapping the football. I'm asking for a name.
After over a decade, you're getting more specific.
After 10 years, I've finally gotten smart.
Is there a date attached to this, what we're doing right now? No, I'm serious now. You can cut this up, because when is this going to come out?
I believe Thursday.
I won't have any problem doing that because we already released the 2 deep today. So now there's an issue with this. You want to know who the quarterback's going to be, and I'm not going to say the guy that takes the snaps. I'm going to tell you that as a staff, we had talked about this, and we named Tyler Johnson the starter, and that Scott Smith and Terrell Pigrome were going to be or as the second. Knowing full well that more than one of them was going to play. Tyler has since had to have some joints looked at, and that might change where we are and what happens in the future. But I will say in the quarterback competition, and this I can agree with, I have never had this many, in the entirety of my career, I've never had this many guys prepared to start a football game coming out of camp. I've never had that number. No way. I've always had a guy who was a starter, maybe two guys that were good enough to be starters, and that I knew that there were dudes that on that list that could work their way into that position as the year went on. They just weren't quite ready. And we started camp with 6 guys, and 4 3/4 of them are ready to start a football game right now. That's pretty impressive.
Well, that makes you feel good.
It really does. It's a good problem to have, but there's only one offense and there's only one football, and that you need continuity at that position, and you need exceptional continuity at that position if you're going to be any good. Everybody's got to be prepared to play. We need more continuity at the moment, but we'll move in that direction.
Now, the quarterback isn't going to be any good if the 5 guys in front of him aren't doing their job. How do you feel about your offensive line? I know that your anchor is Cole Cheripko, the center. How do you feel about the other 4?
Well, I don't want to be remiss in not comment about Cole because I feel ridiculously good about him in that, I don't know, talking to him is like talking to a 30-year-old man who knows how to play football the way it's supposed to be played. He knows how to practice. He knows how to
comes
train.
from good stock.
He does come from extremely good stock, and I love that family. And he's not only a player and a leader, but he's damn near a coach, both on and off the field. When it comes to everything Towson football, I couldn't be more proud of him. Then, the next most experienced guy is Alex Desiree. He's got the most snaps in a Tiger uniform, but some of these guys have more snaps than him in other uniforms. So one, it's breaking them down and evaluating, analyze them as best we can in a short period of time of what they can and can't do well, and then mixing and matching everyone that can possibly help us win a ball game, seeing which guy fits in which spot with which guy better. It's not the 5 most talented guys. It's the 5 guys that play the best together. And, the O-line coaches had a hell of a camp rotating these guys and trying to figure out which one it is. And it's kind of like a carousel. I hear the music in my head sometimes. Dun, 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 dun. But the carousel's coming to a stop. And the solidity and the confidence of that group is growing every day. So we're not there yet, but we'll get there.
All right. I'd like to talk a little bit about the defense, but we are short on time. We need to get to your first opponent. Tigers traveling for the first time since the 90s to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania to take on Bucknell. The Bison coming off a rough season. They were 1-10 last year. When you look at their film, what can you gain from what they did last year, or are they like you with a lot of new faces? I know they have a big quarterback competition going on between 3 guys. What do you see from the Bison?
Well, one, supposedly a revamped defense with a new coordinator. It seems like you start a new season every year, and the first team that you play every year, the guy was a brand new coordinator on the side of the ball. So what they did schematically last year is not going to be similar to what they do this year. So we have to hunt down the information of where this guy's worked, where his growth foundations come from. Personnel-wise, they do return a lot of guys, like a ton of guys on defense, and have some talented guys who, if you watch them a year ago, you're like, God, I don't want to play that guy in a year. Like, I can see where he's now, but in a year from now, he's going to be really good, and now it's a year from now. So he's pretty talented. Offensively, their head coach is an offensive guy. You would probably know him. He went to Lehigh and played wideout. And when Stan Ball was a quarterback, this was his guy, I believe. And he was pretty impressive. So, schematically, they're really sound. They're wide open. They use 11 personnel most of the time, but they do just about everything. And they're smart guys.
Yeah, they ran past 50-50 last year.
And he mixes it up. And he's a very, very good football coach. It's not even a question. So I expect, I don't really care what their record was last year, because whatever happened last year doesn't mean a hill of beans in the world we live in today. And truth be told, in how we're progressing as a football program coming out of COVID with the transfer portal and all the craziness that goes along these days, we should care more about who we are and what we are. And all I know is the guys on the other side of the ball wear a different color uniform. I don't care about them. It's all about us. It's not about them.
And I'm sure all your players are ready to hit somebody with a different colored uniform,
God, yes.
Which they will on Saturday at 6 p.m. You can catch the broadcast on TowsonTigers.com with myself and Towson Hall of Fame former head football coach Gordy Combs. So for the head football coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Marikas. Thanks for tuning in to our opening edition of the Tiger Football Report.